Sourdough Sam.
No, Sourdeath Sam.
Sourdeath Sam.
Sourdeath Sam.
Sourdeath Sam.
Disrespect to Sourdeath Sam will not continue.
What's going on? What's happening? How you guys doing? I am just tapping in with the Twitter community at the moment, and I'm going to let them know that we're here. And the deed is done. What's going on, guys? My name is Sourdeath Sam, and it's a pleasure to be here. It is a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Obviously, the circumstances of some of our conversation today are a little bit of a bummer. First loss of the season. I know. Jake Moody missing some field goals. I know. It could have been worse. 17-19. You know, that's it's a score that's a lot better than a blowout. I'll tell you that. I'd rather be on the losing side of this game than to have been the Cowboys the week prior. But nevertheless, a loss is a loss, and it's something we were not excited to see on our plate. However, we do have a Monday Night Football matchup I am very excited for, in particular, for two reasons. One, your boy is going to be there. I'm going to be there. And you know who else is going to be there is actually the guest on my show today. David Lichty is going to be there. Yeah. So really excited. He's coming on here in just a little minute. Unfortunately, you're going to have to deal with me for a little bit longer because I've got a bunch of dumb bits and some things to say. So first of all, the Browns loss was in some ways inevitable, right? We were going to lose a game. Was it a little surprising it was the Browns? It was. I think I'd sort of circled the Eagles game in December as the game to look out for as far as where we could be taking a loss when you spread out the whole calendar in front of us. But the Browns defense is making it known that they are formidable. And regardless of the nonsense going on the offensive side, they clearly have a defense that is ready to compete with some of the NFL's best teams, as we saw the other day. Now, obviously, there are some circumstances that led to us taking that loss that hurt a little bit more. In particular, the missed field goals didn't sit as well because we had actually gotten ourselves in a position to take the victory at the end. And, you know, while we can point the finger at Jake Moody, it also certainly wasn't Brock Purdy's best day either. What I will say is that good teams will have bad games. And I don't think that this is ominous of future poor Brock Purdy performances, at least compared to the body of work he's laid out thus far. I mean, keep in mind, this is his first loss that he has taken in a game that he has played end to end. He almost got through an entire full season's worth of games without ever losing one, effectively still on a rookie year's worth of games. So all in all, I'm proud of my boy. I still feel safe. Obviously, it wasn't his best game. I'm not about to start panicking about Brock Purdy. The Jake Moody question becomes interesting because obviously we're looking at someone who we spent a draft pick on. Spending any draft pick on a kicker is going to get some attention, let alone picking him where we picked him. But I still have faith there too, right? We saw him just humiliate himself, if we're being honest, in the preseason, and he came back and looked pretty damn solid. So obviously, if anyone's watched this show, you know I might bring him up during affirmations. I probably will. I'm just going to spoil it for you. Jake Moody will be in my affirmations. So don't lose hope. Don't lose hope. So let's just jump into, speaking of losing hope, I'm a really bad gambler. I've lost every single one of these $5 pick'ems, but I'm not going to give up, right? You don't give up. when you're losing in gambling, you double down. That's not good gambling advice, but that's how I'm gonna roll today. David's in the green room. He says that's addict's advice, and that is actually correct. I'm only here to tell David he's a bozo. Perfect timing, Zach. Perfect timing, Zach. Zach's never been here this early before. It feels weird yet sensational. It's kind of what it's like to date me, honestly. And we'll actually get into my girlfriend's advice in a minute. But like my girlfriend, she's also my number one fan. So Zach, I appreciate you. I appreciate you, brother. But anyway, back to my gambling issues. So, once again, and this is why I only put down $5, right? Is I would rather lose $5 a week for the whole season and maybe hit a big one than spend like $500 to like win $10. I don't understand that kind of gambling. So I like to put down a little money, make a lot more games exciting. That's just me. That's how I like to live my life. So this week, I have Alvin Kamara getting a touchdown. Seems like it's possible. Keenan Allen getting a touchdown definitely seems like it's possible. He's on my fantasy team. That dude's always getting tutties. So you know how he rolls.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Travis Kelce, I think he's going to get a touchdown too. Zach Moss, actually. This is interesting. I actually have Jonathan Taylor on my fantasy team because I was the idiot who drafted him at the beginning of the year. But I actually think Zach Moss is going to squeeze one out. And obviously, Raheem Mostert is definitely going to get more than 50 yards. So please pray. Just please pray. I'm begging you, pray for me. Pray for me. Pray for me. Pray for me. In fact, this is the first time I ever went for insurance. And that's something you can do with these picks. So if you want to be reckless, if you want to taste the razor's edge of danger, go ahead and bit.ly/Sourdeath Sam. Go ahead and test your might. See if you can compete with my incompetence. Brother. Okay. So one segment that I've been doing lately that I've been getting enjoyment out of, at least, is before every matchup, I like to ask my girlfriend, who is way out of my league, but she is not a football fan, or at least not actively participating in studying it like any of my friends. She likes to give me some keys to the game, right? Sometimes we're so caught up in watching tape, right, with all of our friends on Twitter that we forget to take the bird's eye view. And my girlfriend, she's very good at taking the bird's eye view. So let's go ahead and jump in to my girlfriend's keys to the game. All right, here we go. So number one is, I added these hearts. Do you like that? Who are they playing? Purdy should say hi to me. Oh, so we're going to the game. So this is actually really good advice because honestly, she's very inspiring. She's very beautiful. So saying hi to her could actually be very advantageous to our chances of victory. So let's go to the key to the game. Number two, the team should root for me. You know, controversial opinion, but it could work. And number three, they should get me dinner. See, what about me? What about me? She didn't say get us dinner, but hey, look, she's got a different perspective of the game. I gotta appreciate that. So, you know. So these are my girlfriend's keys to the game. We will see how that works out. So I'm gonna do one last little segment here before we jump into actual 49ers talk. So for like the 9 of you who are participating in watching this, I appreciate you. In fact, if I can't say I appreciate you without going into the comments and seeing how you're feeling. We got Javi in the house.
Yes, sir.
Gotta love that. He was on the show last week. It was happier times. We had just beaten the Cowboys, and so we were just flexing our nuts all over the internet. Now look at us. We're just bums. Except you're David's gonna heighten the quality of the show, right? You're stuck with me, but he's gonna hop on. You're gonna love it. It's gonna be just all flavor, baby. Speaking of all flavor, baby, let's pull out. So this section of my show is where I go and I pull out vintage NFL cards from 1990 and 1991. In case this is your first time tuning in, I have pulled out a Dan Marino card. I pulled out a Marcus Allen card. I have pulled out a Herschel Walker on the first show. And I would have him sign it, but he's a psychopath. So I'm not going to do that. So I have 2 packs left. So, this bit might be coming to an end. So I just heard in my earpiece, aka my giant headphones, that David he likes the Pro Set. So in honor of him being a 1990 Pro Set aficionado, we're gonna dig into this pack of cards. And I love these packs because they look, I keep saying this every episode, but it looks like they just get pulled out of a cereal box. Like they've just got that like packaging that's just way dated, but we're going to take care of these babies. That's why I wear gloves. I like to keep things real sanitary in case I pull something special out. Okay, interesting. I don't know if this is valuable at all, but I got a Super Bowl. I only read out the ones that I think are worth reading out because I'm going to lose you guys if I just fucking sit here and dilly-dally all day. I got a Super Bowl 3 card. I don't know if that's cool. If anyone's on the show who cares or knows, please let me know if I just became rich because David's telling me I didn't. Oh, I got a Mike Singletary card. That's for our 49ers fans. He has his pants on in this card. Unfortunately, if I got the card with his pants off, I would be a fucking millionaire, dude. Okay, let's keep it moving. Willie Gault, Howie Long. Okay, not bad. I got a Pro Bowl Howie Long card. Life is good. Steve Jordan, Mark Levy, a coach card. Get the fuck out of here, dude. Johnny Hector, Andre Bruce, Shane Conlon. Hey, Jim Kelly. Okay, we're cooking. Kelvin Martin. I got another Dan Marino. Dude, this guy won't leave me alone. Wow. I got 2 Dan Marinos up in here. I'm probably going to make, when it's all said and done, this whole segment's probably going to net me like $15, which is not bad. Yeah, Brock Purdy's dad's hero. Shout out. That one's for you, Brock. I'll give that to you at the game if I guess you buy my girlfriend dinner. And then, oh man, if I enter this contest, I could win a trip to the Pro Bowl. I wonder if that offer is still good. I don't think so, but hey, but you know what? I got another Dan Marino. I'll take it. Y'all. Oy vey. Okay, so enough of me, man. Enough of me. No one wants to see me. People came here to see David. David Lichty, guys. I think it's time. Let's check the comments. Anyone got anything to say? Javier says, Brock Purdy, Mr. Stereo Girl. Hey, man. He's got moxie, apparently. They say he's got moxie. If he plays like he did last week, he ain't stealing nobody's girl. I'll tell you that. But, that won't happen. He's coming in hot. And speaking about coming in hot, I've got my man at Backcountry Fam coming on right now. Ladies and gentlemen, people in the comments, give him a rousing applause. David Lichty. The yay that you heard is all the school children that he works with on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah,
how you doing, buddy?
I am feeling good. We're rocking. It's a Wednesday night in Minnesota. We've got what they call the MEA, Minnesota Education Association 4-day weekend. So every student across Minnesota, today was their Friday. It's my Friday. I'm heading down to Minneapolis tomorrow morning. And I'm going to be there throughout the weekend. And of course, it's going to be a long weekend for me too. I'm going to be at the Vikings game. I'm twinning with my guy. I got my
That's right.
That's how you wearing this. I got to go. So yeah, I'm feeling good, baby. It's Friday on a Wednesday.
Yes, Yes, sir.
I'm really excited. So I mentioned at the top of the show, for those just tuning in, so David and I are actually going to be physically at this Monday Night Football game. I will be wearing this exact jersey. So if you see me on television, and so will David. So if you see us on television, let us know so that we can brag to our friends and family. And if we look like we have been beaten to a pulp, and I'm shown on television or on like a Twitter video where there's a bunch of fights going on in the stands, just know it wasn't my fault because I don't like to instigate fights.
No, I do.
But it was David's fault is what he's saying. So hopefully he wins is what we're hoping here. But I'm excited. I'm very excited to check out Minneapolis. I have actually interacted with David a lot behind the scenes. I have had a unique fascination with Minneapolis. I hear from many, 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 many people that it is very underrated, that it is a great city, tons of parks, obviously tons of lakes. So very excited to go in, check it out myself, and get to meet David in person. It'll be our first time.
Cannot wait, brother.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, I got bad news. We have a loss to talk about. 49ers had a case of the Browns, and obviously the 17-19 score was a result of mistakes coming on special teams, offense, and defense. Looking back at this game, what stands out to you?
Yeah, what stands out to me is I think you saw what some people didn't want to ever have to look at is that question of what does this offense look like with Brock Purdy at the helm if some essential pieces go down. And at one point you had maybe arguably as much as I think Brandon Ayuk is wide receiver one, I think you would argue at least on the offensive side of the ball, Trent Williams, Deebo Samuel, and CMC, obviously maybe not in that order, are probably those three guys that you really can't have go down. And I think that even though Trent rebounded, I don't think he was not the same when he came back. He tried to stay in because he said he's trying to save Jalen Moore, which is not exactly a ring endorsement.
Yeah, not an endorsement.
But I think Deebo is Deebo. Like, Deebo is a beast. I think they can survive without him. But CMC, we have not seen. No, this is an incontrovertible fact. We have not seen the 49er offense with Brock Purdy at the helm without a healthy CMC. And the returns weren't great, Bob, right? Like it was, there were a lot of situations where, yes, the offensive line didn't do great, but actually the offensive tackle that they gave up the most pressures was Trent Williams because he was dinged up. And even when given a clean pocket, there were a lot of situations where Brock, even in good weather in the second half, when it wasn't raining, the sun was out, and the wind was actually variable, really started to look a little panicky and struggled in some of those situations. So I, like you, I think Brock's going to rebound. I think he's one of those dudes. He's a cool customer. I think he looks at things. He remedies situations. He's great in the film room. He's just a guy that has the utmost confidence. But if I'm keeping it a buck, I think that last week there were times where he looked like he didn't have that confidence. And I think for the first time he was trying to cope with a situation where he didn't have that stable that most quarterbacks in the NFL would drool over and kill for.
Totally. And one of the things that I always mention with Brock Purdy is he is so uniquely a product of Kyle Shanahan in the sense that he wasn't like a first round draft pick who came in thinking this is kind of my show. Like, yes, you're the coach, but this is my show. Like, this was a guy effectively last pick of the draft, as expendable as you could possibly imagine. They effectively already had people in place to take his role until they saw him in camp and said, oh, he's actually pretty effing good. And so one of the things that I've noticed is that his gift and his curse is he is so tethered to the success and the fluidity of how Kyle thinks and operates that if those pieces go down or if the game plan falls apart, he's good at finding opportunities to scramble occasionally. But with the kind of pressure that he was facing from that defense, it was really hard for him to both improvise and make up for really important skill players being off the field and the game plan not going according to the way Kyle had scripted it.
Yeah, and I think that was evident in some of the ways where I think when you're watching it with, I guess they even say the naked eye, but you're watching plays and you see a quarterback take a sack. Sometimes, these offensive tackles, a couple times even Colton McKivitz, who gets a lot of crap, he gets shit from me too. But sometimes you're pushing your edge rusher around the pocket, or you're pushing the back of the pocket. And one of the things that I know for a fact that from things I've been told by people I trust, and it's been documented that Brock had intimated to Kyle Shanahan was one of the things he struggled with the most last year. He was able to extend plays, but one thing he was a little bit reluctant to do was step up in the pocket. And there were multiple times in that game where I thought Colton McKivitz actually did a really effective job of kind of olaying, like kind of pushing that edge rusher back to the back of the pocket. And instead of step up and kind of go to the right and extend things, Brock kind of stayed for a beat or a beat or two. And that was something that really, if it didn't result in a sack, it resulted in a broken play. And I think a lot of that had to do with some of the people that were out there in personnel. We saw it sometimes that resulted in a delay of game once, whether guys were lining up in the right spots, whether he trusted people to go on certain routes. It just didn't look, I think it looked like his clock was off. And that's why I do think that Brock, if they're game planning to have personnel in this game in Minnesota, will look better. But I also think that there was some legitimate concern about, and there's these questions have come up: how well does Brock play in poor conditions? And I don't think the conditions were that bad, but a slightly wet ball. A lot of guys were looking like, is he gripping the ball well? Is he doing those things? And I would say 9 times out of 10, but most of the time you're playing in pretty decent conditions in the NFL. That's the one thing though that that gives you a little bit of pause, is you're going to see games in Santa Clara that have conditions like that, right? You're going to see games in the playoffs, whether it's Santa Clara or elsewhere, they're going to have games like that. And if that happens and conflated with big time pieces, MVP candidates out, what does that look like? But yeah, I mean, Minnesota, US Bank Stadium, you're going to have perfect conditions there.
Totally.
Whether or not those pieces are there is another question.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you're absolutely right. I mean, I thought one of the most concerning elements was the slippery ball scenario. I mean, we've had atmospheric rivers before in Santa Clara, as folks who have attended that game can attest to. So it does concern me if that does become a pattern. And that's kind of one of the things I focus on whenever I talk about or think about Brock Purdy is patterns, right? Obviously, whenever you're evaluating a quarterback, you sort of look over their whole body of work and you say, are the patterns pointing in the right direction? And when there are concerns, do they get remedied? One of the things we saw in the Rams game is he had some overthrows. And then in the next game, he was laying down dots on receivers who are going deep. So I have seen personally a pattern of improvement. Whenever I've noticed something glaring on tape, you better believe that he notices that as well. And Kyle is going to make sure that he notices it. What concerns did you walk away with bullet point wise from the Browns game, and where do you hope that he finds that improvement?
Yeah,
I know you mentioned clock, which I thought was a great point.
So I really like Brock. In full disclosure, I've mentioned this before, and I feel like I guess I'll just say this. I think sometimes with quarterback play, that fans are. I won't tell fans how to fans, but I think there's sometimes the story of Brock Purdy has been so amazing, and I think sometimes there's this slight defensive-ness around any type of critique or objective response to something that's happened in the moment, the day after, what have you. Early in the year, I love Brock. I'm an Iowa State diehard fan. I grew up in Iowa. My parents went to Iowa State. I had season tickets to Iowa State as a kid. Like, I watched every snap Brock ever played in college, like not live, but on the TV, on the treadmill. I love Brock Purdy. And I think that there were some things that I saw earlier in the year, like you said, he had remedied, but there are times where ball placement had been an issue. And I think in that game in Cleveland, regardless of conditions, and even though it did dry up, there were multiple times where ball placement was relatively suspect. Timing has typically not been the issue, but yet we also looked at, I think he had 2.85 seconds to throw on average throughout the game. That is an eternity in the NFL. And this was not something where he was rushed like Wink Martindale set the all-time record blitzing a quarterback on the same week that. By the way, you know what other defensive coordinator almost broke the record of Wink Martindale's of blitzing a quarterback that same week? Brian Flores, the defensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings, against Justin Herbert on the same exact week in a game played at US Bank Stadium. So I feel, and this little jumping ahead a little bit, is that I would be shocked to see Brian Flores not duplicate that effort. I think that it's particularly if Christian McCaffrey doesn't play or if Deebo Samuel doesn't play. I think that they're going to see the heat put on. I think they're going to be very confident in being able to stop the run if McCaffrey's not there. And I think they're going to make Brock Purdy make those decisions and get uncomfortable, especially if Trent Williams is not fully recovered. So yeah, the placement bothered me. The time to throw bothered me. I felt like he was not getting rid of the ball right away. And I thought there were some situations where particularly where Kyle kind of had one of those clipboard moments. It was actually earlier in the game where you had about a 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, and it was inside the 15 or inside the 20, and it was a check, dump down kind of the CMC with the 3 yards of the sticks. But the Cleveland front seven, I think JOK had it like snuffed out pretty quick. He just didn't look. He didn't look comfortable, and I think I'd like to chalk that up to great front seven, great shitty-ish weather at the beginning, but we'll see what happens.
Someone in the comments asked, Axel Munoz asked, did Purdy struggle in bad weather at Iowa State?
Yeah, one of my buddy Jay Descaro, he's a great guy. He's one of my guys. He went to Iowa State. He talks to all kinds of guys that are in the pros, both in the NBA and the NFL. I'm not going to out him on all that stuff, but he and I are diehard Iowa State fans. But I was talking with him this week, and he was like, "Yeah, he did have issues with the wet ball, gripping the ball at Iowa State. Now, he doesn't have like Kenny Pickett baby hands, but does that mean he needs to go Teddy Two Gloves? I don't know in those situations. But yeah, we've seen it in Seattle on coming off kind of some rib pain. And now we've seen it in Cleveland. And yes, there were some games at Iowa State. And I know everybody thinks that Iowa is like the Norse, like Chris Berman always used to say, like it's actually like Ames, Iowa is as far north as it gets in the Big 12. And I'm from around there. It's more often than not great weather. I mean, you don't usually get even snow around Christmas for the most part. So it was few and far between, but in those situations, he wasn't great. No.
Yeah. And that was a great question. Ultimately it's going to be frustrating if we have, his kryptonite be, wet footballs, considering that last time I checked, the playoffs are in the winter. However, we'll give him the benefit of the doubt until I can see it with my own eyes. I'm sure that those who have more influence in that locker room than I would have ideas as far as how to create solutions for this. I don't think Brock would be. I don't think he would push against any suggestions. So let's just hope that this is not an issue that's going to plague him down the road when the games really start to matter twice as much. So you had mentioned that off the top. Let's just dive in. 49ers versus Vikings. Obviously, we have a moment to catch our breath. We already had our sigh of relief knowing that those who were injured in the game in Cleveland have left without any serious injury. We do not yet know exactly who is suiting up, who is not suiting up, but we do know that effectively across the board, it kind of feels like it's like, well, pain tolerance, if you're good to go, then go. How do you feel about those players playing in this game? Do you think it's necessary? Do you think it's more harm than good? And B, how do you feel about the matchup if we are short some of those players?
Yeah, I'll say this. I think that it's a 17-game season. I think every game matters. I will say this. Do I think the 49ers will win on Monday? Yes. I also picked a pretty decent route against Cleveland, and I was not overthinking or overlooking the Cleveland front seven or the Cleveland defense. I mean, even if you look at that game against Cleveland, I would set a slightly below average offensive performance probably wins that game by 10 or 11 points. Okay. I mean, that's the reality of it. I think in Minnesota, even though Kirk Cousins has not played as well by almost every analytic metric and possible, that he has not played up to his standard, which also worries me that there might be some negative regression or positive regression for him, negative regression for the Niners. I don't think this is a team that should be overlooked. I do think their defense is buns. I mean, absolute buns. I know that Brian Flores respected DC, but they are limited. And where they are limited the most, linebackers and coverage is absolutely abysmal. Harrison Smith is a geriatric ward safety. They don't really have corners. Byron Murphy is a flash in the pan and used to be a story in Arizona. He's not that guy. So I do expect the Niners to be able to exploit that. And I also understand, I don't know where Trent Williams is at full health. I don't know if CMC is going to be at full health. And what I think that every game matters. So I'd love to see them. I also think that if just because CMC has an MRI and it doesn't make it structural or whatever, it's a long season. Your bye week is in 2 weeks. The fan in me who's going to the game wants to see CMC play. Yeah. My mind and heart can together say, I think you need to trust yourself. And if Kyle is as good as I think he is, and if Brock is the MVP candidate that Vegas thought he was, and if this defense is a top 2 defense, which I believe it is, I think you need to do the smart thing and try to finagle a win without putting those guys out there. I know people say, hey, it's a pain. I saw Matt Mayo, it's a pain tolerance thing. Look, I don't even know what that means. There are injuries that might not be a full-blown injury, but like a pain tolerance, the pain exists for a reason, and injuries can be exacerbated. And something that is not a negative on the MRI could be a negative on the MRI if you push an issue. So I honestly think CMC is the MVP of this team, and he's much too valuable to take a chance. But it's a game on the road. This is the thing, man. I will say this. I don't think people should overlook this Minnesota Vikings team. I've been all along. I don't think they're a good team. I've seen some PFF has gone out and say they're the unluckiest team in the NFL this year. They're much closer to 6-0 than 2-4. I'll say this. The 2 wins that they've won against Carolina and Chicago, the 2 worst outside the Denver Broncos teams in the NFL, they've amassed less than 475 yards total offense. That doesn't seem unlucky to me. So I'm not quaking in my boots here, right, about the Minnesota Vikings. I do, though, think that that overlooking them is a fool's errand.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, and I think we had our, I don't want to call it a trap game because the Browns, we knew their defense could be trouble, but we took our loss. We're ready to respond to it. I think we are one of those teams that other teams in the league know they've got to bring their A game for. That will be interesting to see. I think Kirk Cousins is going to see Kyle Shanahan across the field, and he is going to want to make him jealous. I think he is going to want to say, baby, it was always me. And I think he's going to put together the best game he possibly can without Justin Jefferson. Obviously, their running backs do not scare me. I don't think our defense is going to be outmatched, but you never know where a play is going to come in where our defensive back is going to slip and something goes the distance. That's what I'm wondering. I am more than likely going to say, I'm going to say the 49ers are going to win probably by 10 or more points. But anything can happen. You're absolutely right, because this game could be a problem if Brock Purdy starts to see his confidence slip away for one reason or another. Because ultimately, I'm in agreement. I think if CMC is anywhere in the realm of I really shouldn't do this, then he shouldn't do it. No. Trent Williams, if we think we can hold the line without him, I don't think he should be in there either. I think those are 2 the two most important players on our offense, if I'm being honest, is I think CMC and Trent Williams. You could argue Brock Purdy. We will watch him bounce back. But I do want to make sure that you're right. We don't overlook this because the Vikings are a team that may be unlucky, but they have enough experience to Kirk Cousins has enough experience distributing that ball pretty effectively that if they get enough confidence and get enough momentum, then the Vikings could at least put some points on the board right up against us. And if we're not hitting that 30-point number that we always do before the Browns game, then it's going to be a tighter race than people think.
Well, and here's the thing that bothered me about the Browns game is that everybody was talking about, oh, the defense gave up all these rushing yards. They gave up less than 5 yards of play. They held the Browns to 3 for 13 on third down, and they gave them 2 short fields that the Niners only got 7 points out of. So I'm not worried about the defense, and I respect the hell out of Kirk Cousins. I also know that not having and Jordan Addison's a nice player as a rookie, and T.J. Hawkinson, obviously reputable tight end. But Alexander Madison, all due respect, he had 25 touches last game. Like, it was ridiculous. Like, they did not spread the ball around, and Kirk struggled again. I hope they try to give Alexander Madison 25 touches in this game. Nice. I just don't see I don't know where the targets are going to come from elsewhere. And I think that Dima Lenore and Mooney Ward are playing so well right now.
I agree.
And here's what I hope of the Niners defense. I think Steve Wilkes is on balance, done a great job. I really hope that they just let Fred not pressure Kirk Cousins. I think Kirk Cousins is going to be able to, if you give Kirk Cousins a field with Fred Warner not dropping back, I think that's just an advantage for Kirk. I agree with you. I think this is a win. I'm trying not to be a homer because I live in Minnesota. I'm a high school teacher with Minnesota students. So the last thing I want to do is go back to my classroom. The last thing I want to do is read all these, all these adolescents, all this angst, and they all want Mr. Lichty to be crying in class on a Tuesday, and I will not do that for them. I will go back and I will gloat and I will rub it in their face and I will show them what a winner looks like.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yes, sir.
True.
Axel makes a great point, which is primetime Kirk stinks. You don't seem to be as on board, but I've watched a lot of primetime Kirk. It stinks. Jordan Mason game, probably. Let's go, dude. Freemasons. I am team Freemasons. I think with enough opportunities, he can break one maybe. But I will say, no matter what, no matter how, this is the most selfish take you're going to hear from me, is no matter what, this is such as long as everyone has fun to take, but I'm going to have fun because I'm going out and I'm going to enjoy immersing myself around these Vikings fans. Let me ask you this before we hop into affirmations. And
yes,
real quick, have you seen the affirmations thing?
I have, and I'm so tired of talking ball. I want to get into that.
Dude,
I don't want to talk ball anymore.
Dude, no. Talking ball is for losers.
Talking ball is for podcasters.
Please, podcasters.
Right.
The one last thing I will say or ask you is, as someone who lives in Minnesota,
yes,
we hear about Midwest nice all the time.
Minnesota nice.
Yeah. What can I expect going in? I think I'm going to sort of dive into some of these tailgates. I might even kind of film it, go around. I'm going to be respectful. Like, as much I like to identify myself as chaotic good. Like,
you'll be fine.
I'm a mess, but I'm a measured mess. And so I want to go in all peace, all love. Want to just chop it up with them, have a good time. What kind of fans are they over there?
Yeah, you want to stick to the dudes that tuck their jerseys into their jeans at the belt. I think that is that's a safe bet. You kind of have the high and tight. Even the weather's going to be nice. It's going to be like in the 60s. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be, you got perfect fall weather. And I think the fall colors are even like a little bit later in the Twin Cities. It's going to be just, it's going to be very bucolic. It's
Bucolic. Ooh,
yeah,
what a
it's yeah, it's
teacher
another
adjective.
ACT
Ooh, I
word
like
adjective.
that.
Yes,
I like that,
thank
dude.
you.
You need some
Yeah, I'll
props for
take
that.
that credit. Yeah, please. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Bucolic. Wow.
Yes,
Chat,
I have
did
a
you hear
higher
that?
I have a higher IQ than most. Yes. So the idea that yes. So but stick with those dudes. They'll usually have like yeah. I would say guys that tuck their jerseys into their jeans with a belt, safe bet. I will say, all jokes aside, my mother in law grew up a block from Lambeau Field. She's a Packers fan, so it's different for her, but they're like super big rivals, Packers Vikings. I've been to Lambeau multiple times. One time when Troy Smith was the quarterback for the 49ers. What a game! What a game! What a hero for our time.
Mhm.
And the never had an issue. I've never had an issue with Minnesota fans. I mean, I'm a Timberwolves fan, and I used to be a season ticket holder. I used to be a Twin season ticket holder, so I'd go to all these. Honestly, Minnesota fans are probably some of the nicest dudes you're probably going to see. Like you're not going to it's I know Brad Graham was sharing the picture of a fight that was about a section away from my section over there in Levi's, which is usually like really pretty family
Chill.
friendly
Yeah,
too.
yeah. I
But
love that
like
one.
yeah, so like it's the bottom line is I'd be shocked if there's going to be any issues. I don't know the tailgate scene at US Bank. This is the first game I've been to US Bank. I used to go to the Dome. So when I was in college, I mean, I'm old, man. I'm 41, bro. I'm a fucking relic. Okay. So like when I used to go, I was on the rowing team at the University of Minnesota, and we used to sell like Coke and Sprite, Diet Coke in the stands. And then the fourth quarter, they'd let us go down in the first row. And that was back when like Randy Moss was like, a third year in the NFL. And even then, back then, like when fans, the Metrodome was like super tight, like it was close to the field. There was nothing. I mean, it's some, people get drunk, but it's not a big deal.
Totally. You had me there in the first half when you were talking about selling Coke, and then you started introducing all those different other soft drinks, and I was like, yo, teacher, relax.
Well, no. I mean, this is before. I would say that, yeah. We all deserve. I mean, this is the United States of America, right? I mean, am I right? We're in the it's a land of second chances. Okay,
That's right.
So even if you were selling Coke as a freshman in college, I mean, it was for the greater good.
Right, which you didn't do because you're
No.
good saint. You're busy rowing.
I was busy rowing the boat.
Yes,
That's right, baby.
Before
That's
PJ
right.
Fleck was a self-aggrandizing asshole. Yeah.
And Zach, Coke is not nasty. You don't know what you're talking about. Oh my God,
Now
shut
this-
up, Zach. No. Oh
This-
my God, I let a food take on the show. It's disgusting.
Why is Zach Greer? The one night I come on here, I got a Zach Greer food take. It's like all is wrong.
I gotta find a way to get a moderator so he can just
please
block
block
his
him.
food takes. He's allowed to watch, but not allowed to make a food take. All right, so we're gonna hop into affirmations.
Please.
Before we do that, I saw this on my feed today on Twitter. Do you know who Juvenile is? When I say "girl, you look good when you back that ass up," does that ring any bells?
And how?
And how? Hey, yeah. Back when you were selling Coke and Sprites,
Yeah.
that song was banging. All
Yeah,
right.
it-
Well,
among other
I
things,
saw
yeah.
today that he has his own daily affirmations, and I just you can say them with me.
Damn right.
Okay, so let's try to say them at the same time, without looking at each other. So we'll go
Sure.
1, 2, 3.
You a paper
chaser.
Oh wow, that was a. That
Oh
was,
yeah, no,
that
yeah,
was
yeah. I try to keep it
think
mellow.
mild
It's like
appropriation. Yeah.
yeah, that's okay. It's you're. You do it how you do it in the Midwest, right? I'm kind of chill. I'm laid back in California.
Sure. I'll do my north side. North Loop. North Loop, Minneapolis.
Yeah. North Loop. You got your block,
block on fire.
You remaining a G until the
until the
moment,
moment
you
you
expire. This is good. Yeah. You know what it is. You make nothing out of something. Yeah. You handle your biz and don't be crying and suffering.
Intonation a little slow.
I like that. I think probably my favorite one is you remaining a G until the moment you expire.
Yeah.
I need that in my life. And you know what else I need is affirmations.
Sure.
So let's go ahead and get this music started. I know who I'm starting with for sure. So I'll be quick. Okay. This feels good. It's like therapy. Jake Moody. I get it, man.
Yeah.
I get it. You missed that first one. You start getting in your head. You start thinking, oh man, I can't do this again. You're a pro. You got ice in your veins. You did this at Michigan so well that the 49ers, one of the best teams in the universe,
Sourdeath Sam.
said, we got to get this motherfucker right now. 3rd round. We believe in you. They believed in you, and they've been doing a pretty good job drafting, and I believe in you. And I think you're going to overcome this. I think you're going to kick some nice field goals in Minnesota.
Sourdeath Sam.
I got one.
Some nice
I have an affirmation. Brock Purdy. You've had so many people make these pretty good. I mean, my fantasy football team is pretty good. Some people even made a joke that didn't look pretty good last week. What you need to do this week, Brock, is say, pretty good? Purdy's nuts. Okay?
Purdy's nuts, dude.
You need to, and this is where we say BCB really owns that moniker.
Yeah.
Okay? And this is like, you got to channel that. I know you're from Scottsdale, Glendale, suburban Arizona, right? Where everybody tucks their jersey into their jeans. But even that doesn't, and I know they're going to have all kinds of those Vikings fans out there doing the same. You're going among your people again, Brock. We're going to be there. And I'm going to be rocking my ones at 41, trying to look cooler than I am. Be there for me. Be there for Sam. Be there for all of us. Purdy's nuts, bitch.
Purdy's nuts, bitch.
Yes, sir.
Debo, I know you are hurting, dude. First it was the ribs, now it's the shoulder. You came into the season. You came into the season on a mission. You wanted to prove that you were going to be in shape, kicking ass, and doing your thing, and we see it. We do not see a lack of effort. I want you to take care of yourself, and I want you to really make sure that when you step on that field, you're going to be all you can be, because we know you're that dude. And every time I see you do your thing at the highest level, it is so clear why we gave you that contract, and you deserve it because of the mentality that you bring to this team.
George Kittle, I know you're from the Midwest. Actually, I think from Oklahoma, but via Iowa. He wore a shirt a couple weeks ago in Dallas. Fuck Dallas. This week, we know I saw you wearing a shirt that said, we lost to the Cleveland Browns. Okay? This week, you got to come with that same energy. We're going to be in Minnesota. Okay? The land of purple rain. Right? The land of Michelle Bachmann, Jesse Ventura, the Body. You want to be in the WWE. I want to see you alongside the Body this week at midfield after the game. And I want you putting a DDT right on Kirk Cousins and everybody else. I want to soak up the tears of Vikings fans. And then I want to paint this town red with my brother Sam. Can you do that for me?
Can you do that, George Kittle? Can you do some for me? Man, I'm really excited. Well, first of all, great affirmations. Thanks for doing that with me. I really, really can't wait. The last game that I went to was actually Trey Lance's start towards the end of the season. I think we played the Texans. I might have just made that up. I don't know. But it was one of Trey Lance's starts. I forget. I can't look it up right now because my keyboard's hella loud. But I think it was the Texans. You know what? I'm going to stand on that. Hold on, there's a comment in here. Maybe someone's validating me. No, it's just Zach Greer. Boo!
Get a hobby, Zach.
Well, what did he say? If you guys don't chant you like that at the game, I'll be extremely disappointed in you. Maybe that's how I'm going to end up in a bloody mess. So we'll see. We'll see. If I see enough people, hey, dude, that's what I'm talking about. See, my brain does serve me well. Texans.
Yes, sir.
So I was at that game. But US Bank Stadium, I'm really excited. Rated one of the best stadiums ever. I'm going to find a bunch of dudes with their jerseys tucked in, and I'm going to see David. We're going to paint the town red. It's going to be lit. David, do you have anything else to add before we sign off and I go ahead and give my closing vibes?
No, I would say that I'm excited to be at US Bank Stadium as well. I want to say hashtag this is the year. I know last week gave me a little bit of reservation, but I do think this is Brock Purdy's week. If he's the dude, if he's as good as some people think, and even I think he can be, and other people think, I'm kind of a little geeked to actually see him without CMC. I want to see on the road against Kyle Shanahan's favorite quarterback, right? What better time in prime time, the only game going for him to really show what he can do without a full stable. And I think this could be an MVP moment game for him against a team that's probably a little bit better than some people think, but not quite as good. It doesn't matter. It's a conference game. We're going to be there. And I think that it's going to be Victory Tuesday afterwards.
I think so too. And the beauty of it is no matter what, we got to just go somewhere and drink afterwards.
Hell yes.
And technically I'm on vacation, so I have no reservations about how drunk I get.
Yes, sir.
David, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. I really appreciate it. I'm going to sign everyone off and then sign off myself. So thanks for coming on, and you're the man, dude. Everyone follow at Backcountry Fan if you don't already. And if you're one of his students, be nice to him.
Yeah, don't watch.
So that's the show. We've said it a million times. If you're in Minneapolis, if you're going to this game, hit me with a DM. Obviously, I've got a lot of sightseeing and things to do, but if I can link, I would love to link. It is great to meet you guys out in the wild, and I would hope you'd feel the same about me. And go Niners. I really feel good about this game. I think we've got a great opportunity to do incredible things on the field at US Bank that give us all the confidence in the world that we are that team. And just remember, if you thought Brock Purdy had a bad performance, there's a quarterback on the Eagles who didn't have a great game as well, threw some more picks than Brock did. So keep things in perspective, be nice to each other, and we will see each other on Monday.